Alright folks, it's time to run down some new PRS SE guitars. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. As always, if you like this channel, do consider subscribing to the Substack. In any case, PRS launched a bunch of new models, which I did not pay very close attention to, but I received a few requests asking me to comment on them. So this is going to be my perspective as I guess a guitar collector, as a collector of PRS guitars across price ranges. This is my attempt to break down and simplify how to make sense of the new PRS SE range. So to keep life simple, I just wanted to make sure I don't miss any models. So I've just opened the YouTube channel, the PRS, to see what are the new models. There's a SE Studio Standard, Studio SE Studio. Let me see what the differences are. S2 Studio, SE Special Semi-Hollow, and S2 Special Semi-Hollow. And maybe we'll throw in the CE22 Limited Edition for fun, which is from a while back. What's the key thing here? Well, for any of you who might be familiar, the Studio and the Special Semi-Hollow, I'm talking about the core guitars, the made in USA guitars, they usually contain something called a Narrowfield humbucker. A Narrowfield humbucker is a humbucker that's in between sizing between a regular humbucker and a single coil. So it has a kind of a more focused sound. And PRS used in many different models in the core range. Recently, they introduced the PRS SE NF3, which contained three Narrowfield humbuckers in the SE range for the first time. So it is but logical that they now, given they have gone to the extent of developing a Narrowfield humbucker for the SE range, they leverage it to create all these models which use Narrowfields. So we're going to open the PRS websites and go one by one. Products, SE series, opening it up, and you're going to try and go to new models. Where are they? Here we go. So let's start here. Let's start with the SE. Okay, I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Let's go with the SE Studio and the SE Studio Standard. Okay, now let's understand this guitar. What is an SE Studio? What is a PRS Studio? A PRS Studio is a 22 fret guitar, essentially. It's like a custom 24, but it's 22 frets. It has a slightly thicker body like a McCarty. And the Studio is supposed to be a studio musician's guitar, which essentially means that that person needs to cover a bright range of sounds, including good single coil sounds. So the Studio, the original concept, as you can see on the SE guitar, is to have two of these Narrowfield humbuckers with a proper humbucker in the bridge. So you get these very focused neck sounds, in between sounds with a 5-way switch, I'm guessing. So in this case, I haven't even looked at the specs yet. If you look at the specs, I guess it'll confirm what I'm saying. Just look at it again, quickly. Narrowfield, yeah. Treble pickup, 5815 LTS. We'll talk about this pickup in a second. 5-way blade with a push-pull control. So what does this do? This basically gives you a lot of functionality. You can split the humbucker. You can combine it. You can combine these two if you want. You can get these in-between sounds. So that's what you have. Now this has got some interesting things that have now made their way to the SE lineup. The first thing that I want to talk about that has made its way to the SE lineup is the colors, because Charcoal Cherry Burst, and even Orange Tiger less so, but Charcoal Cherry Burst used to be a core only color. One thing that you have to note is that when you look at these colors, for any SE guitar, they vary dramatically. What SE do is that they put a veneer, a small thin strip of maple on top, and the veneers vary dramatically. So before you buy a SE guitar, please check that you're getting the color, that exact shape of the maple flaming that you want. So the colors are nice. Let's see the positions again. So position 1, it will be this humbucker. Position 1 will be with the coil tap is going to be this humbucker split. Position 2 are these two together, so you can split this. You have two different positions. Position 3 is middle and Narrowfield. Very interesting. What is position 3? Oh, it's just this. Position 4 is these two. Position 5 is just that. It's just the top humbucker. So essentially it's a 5-way, like a Strat in a way, except that you can split the humbucker, this fat humbucker, so you can get two different sounds there. Okay, now let's talk about the difference between SE and SE Studio. Right, they look very similar, but they are different primarily aesthetically because the SE Studio is cheaper. Not SE and SE Studio, SE Studio and SE Studio Standard. The difference between the normal and the standard is, as you can see, this is a plain top. It doesn't have that maple veneer. It's got a slightly more laid back, or rather more stripped back aesthetic, because you've got this kind of almost Fender-like pick guard going on. Otherwise, these should be fairly identical, and they are. I think the other difference that you might see is this guitar will probably have a flat top, whereas this guitar has the violin carve. Do I see that difference? I see the difference. Is it reflected in the thing? Where do I look for it? Yeah, it has a flat top. So let me simplify this for you. This is very much a Strat-like feeling. I have an NF3, it has a flat top, Core NF3. Whereas this one is a little bit like the Core USA PRS, but the violin carve is not as much as you get on a Core PRS, which is a pretty pronounced violin carve that you can see on that 513, for example, behind me. So there you go. What else do you need to know about these guitars? Let's talk a little bit about the humbuckers for a second. Because I'm just trying to give you a functional point of view. The 5815 LT, which is the same on the SE Studio Standard, I'm guessing, yes, and on this one, it's a low output humbucker. It's a vintage humbucker. It sounds a bit like a Les Paul. Another thing that I want you to note is that you have, let's go back to the construction. So here you have of course, it's a solid body. I'm looking for the neck. This is a set neck. And this is a bolt-on neck. Oh my god, that's a big difference. Okay, so folks, the difference between SE Studio and the SE Studio Standard is more than skin deep. It's not just aesthetics. The difference is that the SE Studio Standard is a traditional bolt-on neck, so it's much cheaper for construction, and there's a very different kind of sound that you get from bolt-on versus a set neck. So everything combined over here, the bolt-on neck, combined with, of course, the strip back aesthetic, very Fender-like body. And let's just check one more thing. Let's check the wood for the body. What are they using? So they're using mahogany, and here, of course, they're using mahogany. So it's interesting. This is a very Fender-like choice in terms of having a bolt-on neck, in terms of having a Fender-like body, but it's a mahogany body. So that makes it more Gibson-like, more PRS-like, honestly. So that's something interesting to note. Okay, I think we've covered these two well. Let's go next to the S2 Studio. Let's just complete the Studio lineup, and then we'll come back to the SE Special Hollows, semi-hollows. Okay, let's go to the S2 Studio product, S2 series, since we're talking Studio. And some of you may be thinking, okay, should I get the SE Studio or should I get the S2 Studio? What will be the difference between SE Studio? I'll just put the normal SE Studio, not the standard. These names are confusing. Let's just put the SE Studio and the S2 Studio so you can compare the two. All right, where is it? Wow, PR, you really have a lot of choice in the guitar market. Nobody can complain, honestly. Okay, now, why would you not buy this SE Studio and pay much more for an S2 Studio? What are you getting? Well, there are three things that I want you to pay attention to. One is, these are SE humbuckers, Narrowfield humbuckers. These are the real thing. When I say the real thing, the authentic thing, the original thing. These debuted originally on the NF3, I think itself, many years ago. I have an NF3, one of the most underrated guitars. So these are really good humbuckers. You know, I can't endorse the USA NF3 humbuckers, the Narrowfield humbuckers, enough, because they are such an incredible versatile sound that you can use it as a bass to create a humbucker tone, or you can create as a bass to create a single coil tone. It has that quality that can go either way, depending on how you EQ the amp, how you play, etc. So that's why these Narrowfield humbuckers are great. The SE humbuckers are good, but they're not going to be as good as these ones. These are just very in a different league. And going back to continuing the humbuckers, even the electronics, the 5815 LT is one of the best humbuckers in my opinion, my very humble opinion. So I'm a big fan of this. I'm a fan of bare knuckle humbuckers that are clear as well. This is a very clear humbucker, yet a very sweet humbucker. That's what I like about the 5815 LT. So that's one difference for the S2 Studio. You're getting all these proper USA pickups. Second difference, as you can see, is in the body. This is not a veneer. This is an actual flame maple top. This is still not as fancy as what you would get on the Core USA, the normal one, which has very fancy tops. But this is still a good, what should I say? It's more authentic than this, because this is just essentially a wood sticker. It's not a wood sticker as such, but it's a very thin piece of wood, practically a sticker. This is a real thing. This is real flame. Do note that if you're comparing this versus the Core, And I wonder whether they still whether they still sell the Core Studio. Maybe they do. Specialty Studio. If you're comparing this versus the Core, you see the difference. This is a more simplistic carve. This is more complex, much more complex. In real life, when you play a Core guitar, and maybe I'll just play one. This is sadly a guitar that's not going to be made and not been made for a while, but it's a much more complex shape. You have a proper violin carve. So that is something to note. Okay, let's get into the other things. I keep holding this guitar for some reason. S2 Studio, what else do we need to realize? Narrowfield humbuckers. Sorry, S2 Studio. See how similar they are. Another thing to note is you get locking tuners on the S2. On the SE, I think these are just regular tuners. Yep, these are the regular tuners. You can buy SE locking tuners if you want. The materials used for the bridge is different, I believe, now for S2 compared to SE. They used to be similar, but we'll just compare PRS patented tremolo. I think it looks similar though. I have to see this and confirm. So let me just say that on the tremolo, it looks to be the same. On the tuners, the S2 is now having the proper tuners. Somebody can probably confirm that for me at PRS. I'm not entirely sure. SE components are pretty decent anyway, so I wouldn't change your decision based on that. Let's talk neck profiles for a second. My apologies. That's a big difference. And I'm going to open up the SE Studio Standard as well. Now, the S2 Studio has, in my opinion, one of the best neck shapes that exist, the pattern regular. This is the Goldilocks neck. No matter what you like, whether you're used to Ibanez super thin or Gibson super fats or whatever, you will like this neck. It's the perfect Goldilocks neck. On the other hand, the SE Studio has a white thin, both on the standard as well as the normal one, if I'm not mistaken. SC white thin, SC Studio Standard. Let's confirm whether it's a white thin. Where is the neck? White thin. It's a thinner neck. It's not super wide or super thin, but it's definitely on the thinner side. It's not quite as thin as a Gibson neck. Gibson, the 60s neck, but it's definitely not a chunky neck. So just something to note that if you want the slightly chunkier, but not super chunky, it's a perfect neck. That's one thing that the S2 Studio is offering you as well. Alrighty, let's go next to the special semi-hollow. Since we are in the S2 land, let's go to the S2 special semi-hollow, and then we'll break it down to the SE special semi-hollow. I hope I've not confused you so much, but then it can be quite confusing, right? The lineup has so many different things going on. So let's see SC special semi-hollow. Okay, let's have both of these open, and hopefully we'll close a few things. We'll have to have them next to each other. What's a special semi-hollow? Do I have mine? Sorry, mine is back inside the I have a core special semi-hollow. Special semi-hollow takes that same Narrowfield humbucker, but this is more an humbucker land. So you have two humbuckers here. You still have the 22 fret body, you still have the thicker body, but it's a semi-hollow body. So the combination is that you get a humbucker guitar, a semi-hollow humbucker guitar, which is a very nice kind of guitar anyway, with the additional versatility of having this Narrowfield humbucker in the middle. So this Narrowfield humbucker can combine with the other humbucker and create these beautiful in-between tones, very single coil-like tones. On top of that, these humbuckers can be split so that you can get single coil tone, humbucker single coil, or humbucker single coil. So you get these huge variety of tones. Now, let's answer the most important question. The Studio is supposed to be a versatile guitar. The special semi-hollow is supposed to be a versatile guitar. What is the difference? Which one is correct for me? It depends on what kind of sound you want. And I'll tell you, these differences are very subtle, especially if you're new to guitar. These differences are going to sound like wine experts debating difference between two different grapes or something. And to an extent, it's a good analogy. The S2 special semi-hollow will always give you a very rounded tone, a very soft tone. In fact, it's one of the softest guitars that I have played, because the semi-hollow plus the humbuckers, even though you can get those thinner sounds are still quite soft. They're not jarring at all, they're very soft. So the S2 special semi-hollow, I think, works well when you're living in a land where you don't want too much, what should I say? It's definitely not good for metal. Do not get an S2 special semi-hollow if you want something that is metal. Do not get the S2 Special Semi-Hollow if you really like strats and you want a bright guitar. It is not a bright guitar. It's a very nice rounded guitar. It could be good for jazz. It could be good for um, soulful stuff, unless you're doing a lot of Nile Rodgers kind of thing. But for that kind of soft singer-songwriter kind of a vibe, where you don't want the guitar to jump out too much, it works really well, and you can get some very sweet distorted tones from it. So you have this range, but remember, that is the bass sound of the guitar. The Studio, on the other hand, is a lot brighter guitar, and it's not a semi-hollow. So that guitar, I would say, is a much more versatile guitar really than the S2 Special Semi-Hollow, because it will not do jazz as well. It will not have a very soft sound. It will be a relatively mid-heavy, a more present sound. You honestly have to try both, and the good news is now you can try both the SE guitars and see the difference, what is right for you. For me, because I play a lot of metal, I play a lot of rock, I play a lot of as much as I like the sweet neck pickup sound, I cannot stand a guitar that doesn't have some level of bite. So for me, the Studio would be the one I would go for. But for certain people who don't like too much bite, they would really love a Special Semi-Hollow. And the other advantage of Special Semi-Hollow is a bit light. So it could really be right for you. Honestly, you have to try both. One is slightly brighter, one is slightly softer, but both can pretty much do anything. And I keep saying, with EQ pedals and everything, one of the biggest myths people believe is you need to get a guitar to get a sound. No, it's really about the amp and the EQ. But yeah, if you like the look of the Special Semi-Hollow and you still want to play metal, you can. There are people who play metal on hollow body guitar. So don't let that stop you if you like the look of it. But I'm just telling you what it is naturally suited for. Okay. So that was the S2 Special Semi-Hollow. Nothing much to note here, similar to other S2s. Neck is also patterned regular. One other difference between S2 and SE you must note is this comes with high gloss nitro, whereas on SE guitar, you will be getting, do they mention over here what is the finish? They're not mentioning over here, they're not, but basically it's a poly finish. I hope I'm not missing the thing. Finish, yeah, there's no finish written here for SE. It's a poly finish. So having a nitro finish is another advantage. The guitar just feels nicer, though this guitar is poly, but let's not complicate life for now. What else do you need to know about SE Special Semi-Hollow? It's got the same SE Narrowfield humbucker, 2 volume and tone with the coil splits for each of these. This has also got a hollow body construction. This guitar, the SE Special Semi-Hollow, honestly is a gift for all the singer-songwriters out there who want an electric guitar. I think this guitar is a lot more suited for a singer-songwriter than a Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul or a ES335. This is the perfect guitar because you will get this perfect bass soft sound that lets your voice stand out. On the other hand, if you really want to do the chaka chaka, the typical pop, you want to play moves like Jagger or you want to play some Chic or something, because it has a single coil thing, you can still get those thin sounds. So this probably is my pick of the bunch so far out of these 5, because this brings a kind of sound to the SE range which you did not have. Because think of guitars at that price point, you can either buy the humbucker guitars, or you can buy the Strat guitars or the Tele guitars or the Super Strats which have HSH. This is technically SHH, so it's not exactly S, it's a humbucker and it's a Special Semi-Hollow. So this is, as much as it's not the right guitar for me, I think it's a pretty versatile guitar that brings something to this price point which the other guitars don't. Okay, let's just cover the CE22 Special Edition, which I think is a bolt-on, which is also core. What is the CE22? First, to understand what the CE22 is, you have to understand what the CE24 is. It's basically a bolt-on version of the core PRS guitar. So instead of having a set neck, you have a bolt-on neck. You can see the screws over here. And this, what makes it special is typically the bolt-on version of the core PRS guitar comes with 24 frets. This comes with 22 frets, so you can get a softer neck pickup sound. Another thing to note of these core CE guitars is that they don't have this as sophisticated a carve as the full. At least they didn't. Let me just check right now. Oh wait, they do now. So sorry, this is an old thing. This is where my perhaps too much knowledge coming in from the older CE guitars. So these still now have the full violin carve apparently, which is great. And the humbuckers wise, they have the high gloss 5815 LT. So it's a very vintage choice. I bet if you see the CE24, you will probably see a non-vintage choice for the humbucker. You'll probably see 8515 or the new ones that they have. I'm forgetting what the new ones are called. 38515. So the C24 is the vintage choice, relatively speaking, if you really want a core PRS bolt-on guitar, because vintage style humbuckers, 22 frets. These are all more vintage inspired choices. Which is one is right for you? I honestly think for me, I would go for the C22, not the 24, because as much as I like 24 frets, 24 frets makes it a very modern choice. Whereas this one, I could see myself playing Hotel California. Not that you can't, you can play anything on any guitar, but I'm just telling you the differences. This is more in classic rock land, whereas the 24 is kind of a bit more modern land, if that makes any sense to you. Okay, folks, so there we go. I have to finish this video by saying that if you don't need another guitar to be happy. If you have all the guitars you need, you don't have to buy one of these guitars. Guitars are fun, and if you can buy more of them, like I have in some cases, go for it. All the best, but don't put yourself under any particular financial strain. Don't convince yourself that you can't make good music until you get this next guitar. Don't convince yourself you can't get the sound until you get this next guitar. Getting the sound is very different from getting a guitar. But I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this rundown, this casual rundown of the range. And let me know what else you'd like to hear from me. I'll see you next time.